One of the biggest future developments in Castle Rock is not just another neighborhood. It's the kind of project that could change how people think about living on this side of town in general. And if you're thinking about buying in Castle Rock, this is something you want to understand before it's finished, not after everyone is already talking about it. The project is called Brickyard. The reason it matters, it's not simply because new building is coming. Castle Rock's seen plenty of growth over the years. What makes this different is the type of growth and build being proposed. This is not a new subdivision on the edge of town. The Brickyard is going to be planned as a mixed-use district, which means residential, commercial, recreation, hospitality, gathering spaces could all come together in one area. That's going to create a different question for buyers. Would or do I want to be close to something like that? Could it make nearby areas more convenient? And will it bring more traffic and activity than some buyers really want? Is buying near a major development a smart idea? Or are you buying into a version of Castle Rock that doesn't fully exist yet? That's the real conversation. So today I'm going to break down what the Brickyard really is, where it sits, and why people are paying attention, what it could mean for buyers and sellers, and how to think about it without getting caught up in the hype. Because major development is never just good or bad. It's going to depend on how it changes daily life, how close you are to it, and whether that lifestyle it creates actually fits what you really want. Castle Rock has always been interesting. It has an interesting identity. It sits between Denver and Colorado Springs, but it doesn't feel like either one of them. For a long time, people have seen it as a place to get more breathing room, better views, more space, and a quieter pace, while they still get to stay connected to the Front Range. And a lot of that is mostly still true. But Castle Rock has also changed. Downtown has definitely become more active. The Meadows has grown into a major master plan community. Crystal Valley is still expanding. Restaurants, trails, and retail services and recreation have all become bigger parts of the Castle Rock conversation. The Brickyard represents another stage in that evolution. Instead of Castle Rock only growing outward, this project is about rethinking an existing part of town, and that distinction matters. Outward growth usually creates new neighborhoods, new rooftops, and new demand for services. Redevelopment inside a town can usually shift how people use the town and what they already know. That's why this project matters. The new neighborhood will change housing supply. A mixed-use district can change movement, buyer use, and even buyer perception. The Brickyard is planned and located at the former Acme Brickyard site, home to the original brick manufacturing plant that was there in Castle Rock. It's west of I-25 on Prairie Hawk Drive. If you're trying to picture the location, think west of the highway, not far from downtown Castle Rock, in an area that's been historically and looked and felt more industrial. And it's definitely been underused compared to the more polished parts of town. That history is what makes this project a little bit more interesting. This is not untouched land far away from everything. It is a redevelopment site with a connection to Castle Rock's past. Now it's being positioned for a very different future. Current plans include a mix of housing and commercial space, hospitality, offices, and recreation, gathering areas, and a food hall concept, a central green with resort-style amenities, and the Castle Rock Sports Center. A sports center, that's going to be one of the biggest pieces of the conversation because it can bring more recreation capacity to town. That has grown significantly. Courts, aquatics, fitness, all of it comes into use. That's why the Brickyard should not be viewed just as a real estate project. If it develops as planned, it's going to become a destination point. There's a difference between living near homes and a place where people actually go. And that is what buyers need to understand. If you're buying in Castle Rock, even if you have no interest in living directly inside the Brickyard, the project could still matter. Large mixed-use areas can change how nearby locations are perceived. I want you to think about how buyers compare Castle Rock today. Downtown offers the local energy, vibe, restaurants, walkability. The Meadows is offering trails, neighborhood structure. Crystal Valley gives new development, growth on the south side. Castle Pines Village, and McCanta all create a different luxury discussion on the north side. The Brickyard could add another lifestyle option. Someone may eventually say, I want Castle Rock, but I want to be near I-25, close to downtown, near recreation, near restaurants, and close to a more active and mixed-use environment. That buyer is going to view this side of Castle Rock differently than they may have before, because not everyone wants to live directly inside the activity. In fact, most people prefer to be close without being right on top of it. Being 5 to 10 minutes away from restaurants and recreation and gathering spaces can feel very different than living right in the middle of it. That creates a new layer on how buyers compare neighborhoods. For sellers, this is worth watching too. If you're going to want a home near or live in the south side of Castle Rock, the Brickyard could eventually become a part of how your home is positioned. Not because anyone's promising what exactly it will become, that would be the wrong approach. But the buyers care about access and whether an area feels like it has energy and a direction and even matches their vibe. As the project moves forward, nearby homes and other development will definitely be discussed differently. A location that was once described as near I-25 or close to downtown may later be described as it's close to the Brickyard or the sports center. That matters because buyer perception matters. It doesn't mean that every nearby home becomes more valuable. Real estate doesn't work that way. The pricing still depends on the property, the condition, the timing, the inventory. But when a major destination starts taking shape, the way people talk about nearby areas changes. And when perception changes, demand patterns can shift. That's why I'd watch this carefully without making wild assumptions. The community side of the conversation also matters. Big developments, they bring excitement and they bring question. Anyone looking at Castle Rock long-term should pay attention to both sides. Traffic has always been one of the obvious concerns. If you add housing and restaurants and a hotel, office space and commercial uses, people are going to ask how that affects roads, parking, and daily commutes in and around the area. Those are fair questions. A project can look great on paper, but still create frustration if getting out becomes difficult. Funding is another piece that people may hear without fully understanding. Projects of this size often involve public and private partnership, urban renewal tools, infrastructure planning, future tax revenue, and long-term financial structure. For most residents, that's going to sound complicated, and believe me, it is complicated. The practical takeaway is simple though. People generally just want to know who's paying for what, how infrastructure keeps up, and whether the project is functioning well once the activity arrives. Then there's the identity question. Castle Rock has definitely grown, but part of what people still value is the town feel. So when a major mixed-use project enters the conversation, reactions are going to vary. One person is seeing amenities and recreation, another's going to worry about traffic and activity. Both reactions make sense. That's why buyers should not only look at what is planned, they should also watch how the town responds to project development. The biggest mistake buyers can make with the Brickyard is assuming it means only one thing. A certain type of buyer hears major development and immediately they think appreciation. Someone else is going to hear that same phrase and think traffic. Both reactions are incomplete. A project like this can bring convenience, recreation, gathering spaces. It can also bring construction, more activity, changing traffic patterns. A smarter question isn't whether the Brickyard is good or bad. A better question is this: if this area becomes more active over time, do you want to be close to that? That question will tell you more than any brochure or rendering. For some buyers, the answer is going to be yes. They want the recreation nearby. They like being close to restaurants and gathering spaces. Other buyers are going to feel differently. They came to Castle Rock for quiet, space, views. Those buyers may prefer areas that feel more quiet, residential, and settled. Neither person is wrong. They're just buying different versions of Castle Rock. This is the key. The Brickyard may be appealing to buyers who want Castle Rock, but don't want to feel disconnected. It may also interest someone who likes a more active and mixed-use environment, while still wanting the scale and personality of a small town. Buyers who care about recreational access may find the sports center important. Commuters may pay attention because of the west side location and access to I-25. Long-term owners may watch that project because it could influence how that side of Castle Rock is viewed. Investors may also pay attention, but I'd be careful there. Interest does not automatically equal it's an opportunity. A smart investor is still going to need to evaluate the pricing on it. Rental demand, HOA structure, future demand can support a thesis, but it should never replace one. Now, for buyers who want quiet streets, mature landscaping, less activity, and a more traditional residential feel, being close to a major mixed-use district may not feel ideal. That doesn't make the Brickyard bad. That means proximity to activity is not a universal benefit. The right location always depends on the person that's buying. If you're considering Castle Rock long-term, there are a few things I would watch as the Brickyard develops. First, start paying attention to what actually gets built and when. Big projects tend to happen in phases, and the final version could take years. Renderings are helpful, but they are not the same as a completed street or project. Secondly, watch the commercial mix. The types of restaurants, services, and offices that eventually move in, they're going to shape how people use the area. A food hall, though, is going to create one-of-a-kind activity. Medical, retail, or office space, it definitely creates another. Thirdly, traffic and access should definitely stay on your radar. A great development still has to function. Fourth, let's listen to how people are talking about it. At some point, if people start specifically asking to be near the Brickyard, that will tell you that the project's starting to influence the perception. The final thing to watch is whether the area develops its own identity. That's what separates a collection of buildings to a true destination. A place becomes meaningful when people use it, talk about it, and actually meet there. That is what could make the Brickyard interesting. Now, let's answer the question people really want answered. Should you buy in now or should you wait? The honest answer is that depends on why you're buying. If you already like the location, the home works for your lifestyle, then buying today might be the right decision. But if the only reason you're interested is you're hoping that the project changes everything, slow down. You do not want to buy a home based on the future version of an area. Buy somewhere where you can live happily now. That's a much healthier way to make the decision. Here's the test I would use. If nothing major changes for me for the next few years, would it still be a good place for me to be? If the answer is yes to that question, the Brickyard may make the location appealing over time. But no answer should make you pause. Future plans are not enough to carry a real estate decision if today's reality does not work for your life. That's where buyers are getting in trouble. They fall in love with what might happen. So before you make a decision around a major development, drive the routes, look around, see what already exists. Pay attention to how close you want to be to activity. Then ask yourself, does this current version work? At the end of the day, the Brickyard is one of the more interesting things happening in Castle Rock because it represents a bigger shift. Castle Rock is no longer just expanding outward, it's also redeveloping inward. For buyers, that'll mean more choices. For sellers, it may change how certain locations and homes and areas are positioned. That's why it's worth paying attention to. Not because every buyer should rush in and do it, and not because anyone can guarantee exactly what it's going to become. That value is understanding the direction of the town and whether or not it's a good fit for you, your lifestyle, and life. If you're thinking about buying in Castle Rock, don't just look at what's already here. Pay attention to what is changing around you. That's how you're going to make a smarter decision. In future videos, I'll keep breaking down Castle Rock, Parker, Lone Tree, and Highlands Ranch so you can understand how these areas, these neighborhoods, and they actually live, and not just how they look online. Because the right move is not about chasing the latest headline or the biggest project. It's about understanding what fits today, what changes tomorrow, and where you actually want your life to happen.